Today's thing to cry about or bitch about is adult coloring books. Are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, no, there's adult coloring books. About a month later, somebody, I'm not going to mention their name, oh, look, I got adult coloring books for Christmas. You asked for adult coloring books for Christmas? How is it an adult coloring book, by the way? Isn't it just a coloring book? Like, what's making it adult? Is it more like detailed? Wouldn't that just be a detailed coloring book? A child could still do it. So now they've got people coloring in coloring books. Like, look at me, I'm Dave Welsh. I'm coloring the elephant purple because I like to be myself. It's gay. I almost couldn't believe it. I was like, this has got to be a joke. But it's not. Everywhere you go, parks, downtown Chicago, college campuses, etc., you get hideous, uninspiring, untalented, worthless, modern, whatever you call it, art. There used to be this beautiful sculpture on Roosevelt and 12th Street in Michigan on the corner in Grant Park of these, like, I don't know what they were. They were like angels or fairies or something like that, right? Done well. A good piece of art. And they were tall, too. They were like 15 feet in the air each. And the flowers, whatever those flowers were, like purple, yellows, pretty colors. But they grew on vines, and they grew up the artwork, because the artwork, was made out of thin pieces of metal, and there was all types of holes and, ways for these vine flowers, whatever they're called, to get a hold and climb up, and they were beautiful. You know what they replaced it with? 40 gray, or maybe like rusty-looking 20-foot tall, maybe 15-foot tall, 10-foot tall, bodies without heads. Like, they had arms and legs, or maybe they don't have arms and it's just feet and they're cut off at the torso or the neck, one or the other, I can't quite remember. And there's about 30 of them walking this, in every direction, and it's supposed to represent all the people walking downtown or something, but it is just disgusting. $20 million. Also, Picasso's in downtown Chicago. I'm not sure if there's one or two or three or however many, but there's one main one. It's in the Blues Brothers movie. And it's orange, and it looks like, to me, a baboon. Others say it looks like a dog. It's called a woman, but it's just disgusting. And then they've got another one that looks exactly like it, only it's more baboon looking. It looks like a disgusting baboon. It's horrible modern art. Picasso's horrible. I don't like any of his art. I don't know if they call that surrealism or what they call it, but it's trashism, uninspiring. And then you look at some of the beautiful marble art of Greece, of Rome, the marble statues. They're gorgeous. The architecture 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, and them temples in Greece, and some of those temples in Rome, and all over the world. The art is impeccable. I mean, they literally made like fishnets that are all tangled up like a fisherman casts a net out of fish netted rope. They literally carved that with marble, and it's almost impossible looking to carve because of the intricacies of a tangled up fishnet. They had to get in there and around there, and each individual rope in the fishnet is just precise and perfect. And, it's like society. Does art resemble society or mirror it? Because our society is ugly. Our society is talentless in some aspects, and it's repressed, just like the art is, where the ugliest are allowed to be, presented center stage, like Picasso. That's the ugliest art, and it's elevated to a higher status than beautiful, beautiful works of art that are, that that are just subverted, or the word I'm looking for is held down, basically. Just held down, buried, kept out of the public eye, and they make these ugly, ugly pieces of art. And if it was a buildings or something that they made this ugly, which they are starting to make buildings kind of bland and ugly, like the 70s, I don't know if it's Art Deco buildings, or where they would just build a giant black box, featureless, steel and glass and black. They just look like black shelving units in the sky. And they are starting to make buildings. Some people say prettier, but they're all just blue glass. But if they made these buildings as ugly as they made these, they would if they could, but the people would revolt. They'd be like, what are you making? Even when you look at Soldier Field, everybody's like, it's hideous. Some people like it. I don't. It looks like a nasty, ugly spaceship landed on Soldier Field and ruined a classical Roman Greco-looking facade with promenade, and with the pillars, and with the triangle that's always on top. I forgot what it's called. They've got flying buttresses downtown. They've got all sorts of beautiful masonry, ironwork on the Marshall Fields or the Macy's building. It's beautiful. And that was 100 years ago. And now you get these giant bland. Well, you're lucky if they're that blue glass, because it's a lot prettier. But it's just, it's a mirror to what our society is, uninspiring. There's no inspiration in these buildings to make a man, by itself. So you could be inspired to see the great things mankind can do. Now it's just, we've all been hammered. We're all being hammered into a mold. And if you don't fit that mold, the people have been trained to hammer each other now. We do it to ourselves down here on the ground floor. Your peers will hammer you if you get out of the mainstream narrative. If you start saying something that's true, and they know it's true, their brains malfunction. They're unable to hear truth without reacting the way they've been programmed. They've been programmed to react emotionally, in an emotional outburst, because you're not playing the game. And that's bullshit. Why do you think you're special and you get to sit here and say whatever you want and talk your truth, but they've never been allowed to? So they themselves police their peers' freedom of speech and police thought, because they've done a great job getting regular Americans to pretty much be like the KGB on each other and say, no, that's bigoted, or no, that's not the way to think, or no, you know what I mean? And they get emotional. They can't talk it through with you like grown men should and be able to go back and forth and make your points. It's just unbelievable to see these people when they are triggered. It's very, very bizarre behavior. And you would think people wouldn't be that triggered in 2020, but they still are, just as bad as they were in the 2015, 2010, 2005. It was all bad. I mean, you couldn't say obvious shit without people freaking out. So, yeah. Adult coloring books, folks. Why not take up painting? Why hasn't it become popular to sell painting kits and pursue painting instead of childlike, talentless deeds like coloring a coloring book? What the hell is that? It don't look right. A grown person in a coloring book with crayons, a grown person with a crayon box sitting there coloring with crayons. No, why don't you get a canvas and draw and take up the beautiful art, the beautiful artistic medium that is painting? There's so many cool techniques in the paints. It's like 3D. There's texture with painting. You can lay it on thick and give it texture. and make pretty little clouds and all that good stuff. So I digress. Another sign of the times. And we continue to dumb ourselves down. Because what fun would it be to always be like, damn, this is retarded. So a lot of us, what we do is we purposely have dumbed ourselves down. Because if we hadn't, we would never have any fun in this world. So that's why we do it. And that's why we act retarded sometimes. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's what it is with me. If I were just to look at everything for what it is all the time, I'd be miserable all the time. I wouldn't be able to goof around or have, smile. They say we smile to keep from crying. But everybody, God bless. And don't be a grown person coloring books. It doesn't look right. It's weird.